Hi everyone, welcome to Dear BAMf, the show for PR and marketing pros like you, hosted by Beck Bamberger of BAM. BAM is a communications agency that believes stories move the world. We move stories forward for technology-driven brands that challenge, change, and create entire industries. Today, on the Dear BAMf podcast, we're talking with Erin Kim. As Communications Director at Geltor Inc., Erin leads PR, brand management, and cross-media content strategy for the biodesign company. Erin is moved by foresight, bringing humanity, inclusivity, and authenticity to storytelling around breakthrough technologies and the power of community for startups and big brands alike. Let's dive in.
We're so excited to have you, Erin Kim from Geltor. Hi, Erin.
Hi, Beck. Thanks so much for having me.
I know, this is fun. It's been a while we were getting this scheduled, so
yeah.
We're excited to be here. So, Miss Erin, why don't you tell us in 60 seconds, if you could, what is Geltor up to?
So Geltor is a conscious biodesign company. We're just over 5 years old now, and what we do is we use a sustainable fermentation process to make proteins of the highest quality, so collagen, elastin, ingredients like that for the beauty and personal care industry, and soon we'll be moving into ingestibles as well.
I was going to say, that's new. What does that mean, ingestibles, exactly?
So that'll be like a nutraceutical product and eventually food and beverage. So all the things you see collagen in, those could be Geltor collagens as well.
There you go. And is collagen an environmental problem, impact problem? How would you describe that?
Anything that's sourced from animals at such a scale is, and it's a little known fact, so collagen, it's one of the most, it is without a doubt, the most well-known, well understood, beloved proteins out there. It's in everything. It's been in beauty products forever. And now we're seeing it, in all kinds of snack foods and beverages and things like that. And it is a byproduct of factory farmed animal waste. And that, of course, really puts a strain on the environment. And there's ethical concerns around that. So yeah, we just have a proprietary animal-free and sustainable way of producing not just collagens, but any kind of protein. So yeah.
Needed, clearly. What are you most proud of? Let's say in the last 12 months, we've been in this shitstorm of COVID, etc.
Yeah, we've managed quite well. We've hired, we've grown threefold, I think. Haven't laid off a single person. Yep, we've done really well.
That's something to be proud of.
Yeah. Everyone's very well taken care of and happy and doing great. And we also announced a Series B fundraise, which was excellent timing, very fortunate on our part. That was in the summer, and that's setting us up to work on some really exciting things coming up for 2021 and beyond.
And then how about, speaking of the Series B that you announced and the various traction you guys have had, and especially in something that makes an environmental sustainability impact, what's your favorite way you're telling stories right now? Or maybe an example of one?
Well, something new that we're doing. So we're a B2B ingredient supplier. We've done a lot of the technical seminars at industry events and trade shows. But what we're doing more recently, which is new, is we're getting in front of more of a consumer audience. And so for the first time, we sponsored an event, the Founder Made. It went virtual this year, but that was really cool. Yeah, and we got Alex, our co-founder and CEO, he got to speak on a panel with Frederick Fekkai, the legend of hair care, and an entrepreneur in the CBD,
which has collagen in the products, right?
They certainly have keratin and yeah. Don't quote me. I think they probably have collagen in some of their products, but yeah, certainly protein.
Awesome. So getting more on the consumer side of things.
Yeah.
I like it. That's great. Well, Erin, we have quite a few questions to get to, so let's dive into our first one here. Dear BAMf, my client offers a free mobile app that provides access to a personal phone number that they can call or text anytime, but has a reputation for not taking action against customer complaints regarding harassment from unknown numbers. Although my client states that they have a team that looks into each case, how can we push them to take more responsibility for their customers' safety before a crisis develops? And in the case of a crisis, how do we remain partners if the client is unwilling to implement recommendations and further safeguards?
Well, in this day and age, there's this critical eye that's been turned to the tech industry, and rightly so. And in this day and age, it's not enough to say, you have a team that looks into each case after an incident arises. Like that's like the equivalent of, your call is very important to us, kind of a statement that everyone kind of knows doesn't mean anything, And so I'm wondering, like, what does that team do? I'm guessing that the cases that have arisen so far have been minor enough that this client thinks they can just keep coasting, but that won't be the case for long, especially in the best case scenario of the company growing. So this might be the lawyer in me, but sometimes you have to assume the worst is going to happen and act in the ways that you can to mitigate risk. You need to communicate to this client that the risks are going to get greater as the company grows. And that's a good thing because you want the company to grow. And that PR and communications isn't just about cleaning up messes after they happen and celebrating highlights. It's also about being prepared for the bad and being proactive about potential risks ahead of time and heading them off at the pass. So I maybe periodically send over clippings of parallel crises to let them know of the kinds of publicity that you're wanting to avoid for them, but be cautious of trying to appear, that you're trying to like upsell them on anything, and just that you're looking out for their best interests.
That's exactly what I was going to say in relation to that type of client who's like, oh, what happened to us? What are you talking about? No big deal. You're like, yeah, okay, here's example A, B, and C that has had the wrath of thinking a similar way, because nothing is more concrete than tangible evidence of someone who has gone down the path you're thinking is okay to go down. Because you can counsel and say, well, in theory, or, we've seen. It's like, no. Here are 3 examples recently that have happened. That seems to have the biggest weight. And also, I appreciate your comment, Erin, on this with like the upsell or whatever. It's like, no. We're not trying to sell you a $10,000 crisis plan. This is just, you need to be aware of this. And here's the ramifications if you're not going to do anything.
Yeah. And there's so many well-known examples of companies that have gotten into very publicized trouble for breaches of data and things like that. So it's not hard to find these types of cases. And this company, I would hope, would be aware of some of that too, just because a lot of it's out in the culture right now. And then to the question of like, how do you remain partners? Well, that's up to you. And I guess, what are you comfortable with? If it crosses the line, I think that's different for every professional and every agency. But if that crosses, where your personal line is of your personal and professional ethics, it's what are you comfortable with?
Hopefully you have the ability to extract yourself out of that.
For sure.
Fire the client and the contract, all that good stuff. We don't know where this person lies on the chain of command, but hopefully that's an option for you guys. Next question here. Dear BAMf, my client has been plagued by negative coverage over the last 12 months as a result of a few rounds of layoffs and drama with their lead investor. A major business pub reached out to us this week asking my client to participate in a story about how COVID-19 has impacted their business. The reality is it completely railroaded their progress as a company, and they had to apply for a hefty PP loan to stay afloat. On the other hand, the company is just starting to rebound. And if we can supply data to support this, the reporter has noted she would write a balanced piece, balanced quote unquote. On the other hand, I'm not sure it's a great idea to be touting how great the company is doing after just receiving a massive loan from the government. Now, this was a couple months ago. Should we participate in the opportunity? It could be a first semi-positive piece of tier 1 coverage we received in the last 12 months. However, there is always the chance that this could crash and burn, which could leave us in an even worse position from a brand standpoint. How would you approach this?
Ooh, this is a tough one.
Do you take the bait or do you walk?
I would walk. I really think sometimes it's better to have a bit of time to cool off, let the audience recover a bit, and wait until there's a solid piece of good news to share. I can understand the temptation because 12 months is a long time. But also, balance clearly doesn't necessarily mean positive, and you would want that for your clients. So I think anytime also you're saying one thing, but then you kind of know the reality is different, that's like such an uncomfortable position to be in. So I would wait. No story sometimes is vastly preferable to a negative one, and I personally wouldn't roll the dice again.
I'm on the same page. Too dangerous, too volatile, Again, this is an earned piece of coverage. You have no control over that. Zero. I'm even a little suspicious of someone say, oh, it's going to be balanced. It's like, wait a second. Do you even need to say that? Like, what does this all mean? Like, forget it. Just
it's a bit doth protest too much.
It's a bit. So knowing everything that's going on, let it pass. Let it sail.
Yeah. And actually, it's kind of maybe a little bit of a silver lining. It's COVID-19. We're in a pandemic. I think if there is ever a time to kind of like go a little bit quiet, a pandemic is that time.
Yes, this would be the time. Okay, moving along here. Dear BAMf, my client is a tech company which has had no hard news for over 12 months. The alternative strategies of thought leadership, bylines, soft announcements, data points are getting old fast. Attempts for annual goals, product roadmaps, partnerships are coming up empty. Is there any way to pull hard news out, make something bigger than it is?
I'm never a fan of making something bigger than it is. I wish I knew more about what kind of a tech company this is, because that would be super helpful. But I'd consider pulling some more off the beaten path ideas out of your hat, almost like a George Costanza approach of doing the opposite of what a typical tech company might do to get some publicity. I'm wondering if there is a more human, like this being a tech company, is there a more human aspect of this company that makes it stand out amongst the rest? For example, I saw a great story about a company in biotech that was making a concerted effort to hire more women scientists. It had a really great, effective, image in the story. And I'm sure that it had a really positive impact, not just on their brand awareness and reputation, but also for recruiting and maybe investment. But the thing is, it has to be authentic. And I think that can sometimes be a challenge for tech in particular, as there's an association with being somewhat cold and calculated. But get to know the client, get to know the founders, see if there's something deeper to dig out, and don't be afraid to take a bit of a risk. And this might also be a good time to invest in some media training and, maybe consider, putting the founder in unlikely places where what the company does is fresh and new. And that could be a good approach, just a different audience, maybe.
Kind of like how you guys are now going
exactly.
after a different audience. Yes. What have you, before I kind of chime in on that, so as you're now looking at that consumer landscape, this is just to add merit to this question, how have you been rethinking that approach? Like you, Erin.
Well, it's totally new. It's something that B2B ingredient suppliers typically haven't done. They're usually perfectly happy kind of operating in the background and just talking to their customers. But we have a new approach of doing things. And so being an outsider and being new to the industry and the technology and everything, I would walk around like the trade show floors and just see what some of the other B2B ingredient companies were doing. And I just thought, wow, this playbook, it needs to be shaken up. And I felt that if anyone was going to do that, it should be a young, kind of a disruptor brand like Geltor is. And it's like, why not talk to consumers? Now is the time of conscious consumerism, and the consumer wants to know as much as they can about the ingredients that are going into the products they're using every day. And so I think establishing the connection with it shouldn't end at just your customers. It should also,
direct customers, at the end customer, they should think about.
Yes.
Yeah. By the way, I'm on the website right now and it looks quite lifestyle-y, consumer focused. Like you're on this and you would never think, oh, this is some company that only sells to manufacturers. Like this
right.
is definitely the approach matches that. So that is great.
Oh, thanks, Beck.
Yeah. Erin, maybe that's part of what you're excited about and proud of. Put that down.
Yeah.
Put that down.
You're right. And I am proud of that. And I actually will also say maybe by the time this episode airs, we'll have a little bit of a facelift to our visual identity too. Not a complete overhaul, but just just some.
It's very clean. I love it.
Yeah.
Looking good. Cool. Okay. So back to this question, what I would further add in here is just that, we don't know the landscape. I do agree. Trying to make a mountain out of a molehill doesn't usually catch, doesn't usually go anywhere.
People can smell it.
They really can. And nothing pisses off a reporter, I think, more than that. When you're like, really? You just updated your paint color in the op. No one cares.
Yeah.
No one cares. So I like the idea here, and this does sound like it's appropriate, whereas this person has gone through many realms, from the thought leadership, the roadmap, maybe the partnerships. Okay, data points. Okay. Maybe it's time for a really deep dive and to talk to your client and say, you know what? We got to dig here. Like you said, Erin, like we got to dig. We need to do 6 interviews, 10 interviews. I don't know how much, with head of product and the other person maybe on the development side and the 2 co-founder, and just do some qualitative research basically. And I'm sure there's some nuggets that that'll shake out of that. It's just, you can't usually get that when you're having your weekly call and it's with the one person you always talk to, which is fine and efficient for many purposes. But in a desert that you're in right now, a story desert, let's say, you got to get in there and dig around to see what else can come up. And obviously, given this is the client relationship, don't go saying, oh, for us to do that, it's going to cost. No. This is just going to be part of your time and what you got to do. And then you're going to say, hey, after all these interviews, we're going to code it, we're going to correlate it, and we're going to come to you with, ideally, some fresh angles and things that we never heard. It's going to take a lot of listening for this to happen. I'm in a PhD program right now. So like qualitative research and extensive interviews is the thing of the day. And you get all these little insights that you otherwise wouldn't get when, we sent a survey, or, we just heard the one thing. No.
Totally.
So that'd be my approach here, and then see what shakes out.
Spend some quality time with the client, like almost like a relationship. You just check back in and invest in the relationship. And it's sounding to maybe potentially like in this situation, if it's a tech startup, sometimes I feel like they don't take that foundational step of getting to know themselves before jumping out and trying to get press. So I think that checking in and like, who are you? Like, what is X company and what are your values? What's like different and special about you? Like I think it might be a good opportunity to kind of look at that.
Go ahead and dig, person. That's what you got to do. A little different approach too, I think, than just like, oh God, we've tried everything and nothing's working. And oh God, just like, no, take it back, go in deep, see what comes out. I think that. Well, Erin, we've solved the problems for the week. Hooray.
I hope so.
Just for the week. That's why we're going to be back next week as usual. Thank you, Erin, for being on. Such a pleasure chatting with you. And this was really great and a lot of fun.
Thank you so much, Beck.
Thanks for listening to Dear BAMf, the advice podcast for PR and marketing pros like you. Our show was created by BAM, a PR and marketing agency headquartered in San Diego and New York City. The music you're enjoying today was composed by Tiffany Dizon, produced by Daniel Kessner, and played by San Diego Symphony's Art of Alon. If you have a tough PR and marketing question you'd like us to answer, write to us at bamtheagency.com/Dear BAMf. Don't forget the F. If you'd like to get notified of our latest episodes, subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts and review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.